What if I told you there was a weekend where 5 different sports teams from the same state, all with sizable fan bases, had it rough? And even though one of the teams won, in the eyes of many fans, it was still a loss. This weekend was so bad for this state's sports, it may eventually be noted as the worst sports weekend for a state in history. Yeah, it was that bad. The year? Well, the year was 2020. It was the middle of October, and while some sports were just heating up, such as football, some were wrapping it up in tightly contested events. The perfect time for implosions to be happening. And before we even get into the events of the weekend, let's take a deeper dive into the history of painful sports. When it comes to Atlanta sports, it doesn't seem like the curse stops there. As a matter of fact, it seems the curse extends onto the whole state of Georgia, with it eventually all accumulating into one terrible, horrible, no good, very bad weekend of sports. Now, to appreciate or hate this terrible weekend of sports even more, we need to take a deep dive into painful sports history with Georgia. It seems all Georgia sports teams are cursed. Only one major sports championship has happened for an Atlanta-based team since the Falcons were created in 1965. Speaking of the Falcons, many claim they are the team with the biggest curse on them in Georgia. Beginning in 1999, the Falcons were a powerhouse, dirty birding their way to a 14-2 record and their way into the Super Bowl. However, the night before the big game, safety Eugene Robinson was arrested for solicitation of a prostitute. The same day he had won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, an award meant for the highest of moral characters. The Falcons would then go on to be blown out of the water by John Elway and the Broncos the very next day. However, the Falcons acquired superstar sensation Michael Vick with the first pick in the 2001 NFL Draft, after trading up with the Chargers. Vick brought excitement to the team and put them in position to win year in and year out. But before the 2007 season, Vick was in prison for dogfighting and the Falcons fell apart once again. Yet, in the 2016 season, just 9 years removed from the Vick incident, the Falcons were one of the best teams in the NFL, led by a high-scoring offense that included Matty Ice and Julio Jones. They made it to the Super Bowl where, well, we all know what happened. Other Georgia sports are cursed too. The Braves hold Atlanta's only major championship, yet contain more misery than happiness. This includes a blown 2-0 lead in the 1996 World Series, being swept in the 99 World Series, suffering a walk-off home run in the 18th inning to the Astros in 2005, numerous September collapses, the infield fly, and of course, a 10-run first inning to the Cardinals in Game 5 of the NLDS. The Hawks, meanwhile, haven't touched a championship game since moving to Atlanta, with their best year coming in 2014 with 60 wins. However, they were swept out of the Eastern Conference Finals by LeBron and haven't come close to that since. College sports aren't much better for Georgia anyways, with UGA not having won a college football championship since 1980 and blowing multiple leads in big games. And Georgia Tech is only slightly better, having won a share of the 1990 college football championship, but being a relatively average or below average team since. And then there's the Thrashers. Not even in Atlanta anymore, but they're paying well in Atlanta. It was very bad. After drafting 2 superstars in consecutive years, Danny Heatley and Ilya Kovalchuk, the curse struck. Heatley was in a car crash that killed one of his teammates and left him injured. Following the crash, Danny asked for a trade to leave it all behind. Now that's a lot of bad stuff that happened over the span of 55 years, but nothing came together to create a worse storm than the weekend of October 16th. It was Friday. The Braves were up 3-1 on the Dodgers in the NLCS. That evening they would play their 5th game of the series, and AJ Minter was scheduled to pitch. It would be his first career start in the majors. However, it didn't shake him. He went through 3 innings of 1-hit, 7-strikeout ball, and the Braves put up 2 runs behind him. However, it all began unraveling in the 6th as the Dodgers scored 3 runs in back-to-back innings, never looking back and winning Game 5. While many fans went to bed upset, there was more than just baseball to look forward to the next day. Georgia Tech started off the day with a game against Clemson. Any hopes of a competitive game were diminished fairly quickly. Tech tied the game just under 10 minutes into it at 7-7. They wouldn't score again, and Clemson would score 66 more points, resulting in a 73-7 beatdown, one of the worst beatdowns Georgia Tech had seen in a while. The Braves would follow it up next, with many fans believing they would clinch the series today, as ace Max Fried was starting. However, he didn't come out with ace stuff, being blown up for 3 runs in the first. He managed to go through 6 2/3 before being pulled, keeping the damage only at the first 3. However, the Braves offense would hold most of the blame for this game, as they left men on base and in scoring position countless times, including the bases loaded as well. They managed to put up 1 run in the 7th, but continuous bat-at-bats hindered them, and they would lose with a final score of 3-1. But the scrappy day could still be salvaged with the final game on deck, the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Many believed that this would be a preview for the eventual SEC championship. Spoiler, it wasn't. But it was by far the most hyped game of the day, and for the first half, it did not disappoint. Georgia and Bama went back and forth, with Stetson Bennett going toe-to-toe with Heisman finalist Mac Jones for the first 30 minutes, and Georgia entered the locker room with a surprising 4-point lead. However, like Alabama always does against UGA when they are down, they made adjustments and came back. This time, not needing a quarterback switch, Bama came out energized, scoring 3 touchdowns in about 20 minutes of game time and shutting out the Dogs in the second half. But, for many fans, there is always tomorrow. Game 7, the 2 best words in sports, was happening, but it would have to wait. The Falcons started the day off against the Minnesota Vikings. Remember when I said one team won, but it was thought of as a loss? Yeah, it was the Falcons. Entering Week 6, the Falcons were 0-5, with major meltdowns against the Bears and Cowboys, historical ones at that. This left many fans ready for a tank, but they came out to play and blew out the Vikings 40-23. With this win currently separating them from a top 5 pick, the win has left a bitter taste in many fans' mouths. Atlanta United, Atlanta's soccer team, was next on the chopping block, where they would face off against Toronto FC. The game was neck and neck, but in the 89th minute, only a couple minutes before the extra time would run out, they gave up a goal and lost the game. One of the most heartbreaking ways to lose in any sport, a last-minute or second score. But all worries would be fixed if the Braves could just win Game 7 and clinch their spot in the World Series for the first time since being embarrassed in 1999. The Braves came out ready to play, scoring 2 runs in the first 2 innings thanks to a Marcell Ozuna single and Dansby Swanson home run. The Dodgers would tie it in the 3rd with 2-run single off the batted catcher Will Smith, but the next inning the Braves would score again, taking the lead back to an Austin Riley single. However, the Dodgers would hit 2 home runs in back-to-back innings, the winning one off the bat of Cody Bellinger, completing the comeback and the worst weekend for sports in a state ever. While the pain still haunts many, Atlanta sports has a chance to break its curse. With the Braves and Hawks having young, exciting teams, they could bring the city a major championship for the first time since 1995. If you got this far, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe. And until next time, peace.